In the dawn of the 8th century, the Anglo-Saxon lands of England were a tapestry of rival kingdoms, a society forged in migration and conversion. This was a world where the memory of pagan gods still lingered, even as the light of Christianity shone brightly from new monasteries. It was into this fervent age that a child was born in the kingdom of Wessex, destined to travel farther and witness more than anyone around him could possibly imagine. His name was Willibald. Born around the year 700 into a wealthy and influential landowning family, his lineage was one of piety.
What does this passage mean?
His father, known to history as St. Richard the Pilgrim, was a man of deep faith, a devotion he would instill in his children from their earliest days. Following a common practice for the nobility, Willibald was offered to the service of God as a child. At the tender age of 5, he entered the monastery at Bishop's Waltham. Here, his world was defined by the rhythm of prayer and the rigours of a classical education. He studied Latin, scripture and the works of the Church Fathers, immersing himself in a life of discipline and devotion within the cloister walls. But for a mind as bright and curious as Willibald's, the scriptures were not just words on a page. They were vivid descriptions of real places. A restlessness grew within him, a profound yearning to bridge the gap between text and reality. He dreamed of seeing with his own eyes the Sea of Galilee, of touching the soil of Bethlehem, of walking the very paths in Jerusalem where Christ had walked. For an 8th century Christian, this was the ultimate expression of faith, a physical journey to the heart of the sacred. This sacred calling finally became too strong to ignore. Around the year 721, Willibald, now in his early 20s, made a momentous decision. He would not travel alone. In an extraordinary testament to their shared faith, he was joined by his father, Richard, and his brother, Winbald. They renounced their status, trading a life of comfort for the hardship of the open road. What followed was no ordinary pilgrimage, but one of the most remarkable journeys of the medieval world. Their path led them from England across the Channel to northern France, then south through the lands of the Franks and over the Alps into Italy. But tragedy struck in the city of Lucca, where their father Richard fell ill and died. Pressing on, the brothers reached Rome, the heart of Western Christendom. There they stood before Pope Gregory II. Impressed by their devotion, the Pope gave them his apostolic blessing, a crucial sanction for the perilous road that lay ahead into the east. The next stage of Willibald's journey was a monumental undertaking across treacherous seas and deserts. It was a path defined by the profound devotion that drove him, the constant dangers that tested him, and the relentless spirit of discovery that pulled him ever onward. Leaving Italy, his small vessel was at the mercy of the Mediterranean. In Naples, he walked amidst Greek and Roman antiquity. In Sicily, a crossroads of civilizations, he encountered a rich tapestry of Byzantine and Arab influences. The island of Cyprus, steeped in the legends of apostles, served as his final Christian bastion before the final leg of his sea voyage. Finally, the coastline of Syria appeared. Disembarking, he began the overland trek into Palestine. This was the threshold he had dreamed of, the hallowed ground he had only known through scripture. For an 8th century Christian, this was more than travel. It was a spiritual arrival, the ultimate goal for any pilgrim. Entering Jerusalem was to step into a living testament of faith. The city, then under Umayyad rule, was a complex mosaic of faiths. Willibald navigated its tight, winding alleyways, the stones beneath his feet echoing with millennia of prayer. He walked the path now known as the Via Dolorosa, imagining the weight of the cross. His pilgrimage reached its spiritual apex at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Here, under one roof, lay the sites of both the crucifixion and the resurrection. He knelt in the flickering candlelight, surrounded by fellow pilgrims. To gaze upon the rock of Calvary and enter the tomb itself was to bridge the chasm between sacred texts and physical reality. From Jerusalem, his devotion led him to Bethlehem. There he descended into the quiet grotto of the Nativity, a simple cave revered as the birthplace of Christ. He then journeyed eastward through the stark Judean wilderness to the banks of the River Jordan, connecting with the very origins of his faith. But Willibald's was not a spirit content with only the primary sites. His was a restless, scholarly curiosity. He climbed the Mount of Olives, looking back at the Holy City. His travels became a comprehensive tracing of the Gospels, taking him north to Nazareth, onward to the ancient metropolis of Damascus and the coastal city of Tyre. He even ventured into Asia Minor, seeking out the communities first established by the Apostle Paul. This extensive travel was not without hardship. He and his companions endured sickness and navigated the bureaucracy of local rulers. Yet these trials were interwoven with discovery. He witnessed the dazzling spectacle of Eastern marketplaces, a sensory explosion of textiles and spices, and saw firsthand the cycle of empires in magnificent ruins. Through it all, Willibald was an observer and a survivor. The 7-year pilgrimage transformed him. The Holy Land ceased to be an abstract concept, becoming a living landscape of mountains, rivers, and people. It was a revelation, a tangible bridge he had built with his own 2 feet, connecting scripture to reality. What makes Willibald's journey so precious to history is that it did not vanish into memory. His travels were carefully recorded in the Hodoeporikon, one of the earliest surviving Western accounts of the Holy Land and the Middle East. Through these pages, we know the landscapes, the sacred sites, and even the struggles faced by travelers in the 8th century. After years of exploration, Willibald returned to Europe, bringing with him not treasures of gold or silver, but treasures of knowledge, experience, and faith. He travelled north into Germany, where he encountered the legendary missionary St. Boniface, who was spreading Christianity across the pagan tribes of Europe. Willibald's return to Europe did not go unnoticed. His uncle, the great missionary St. Boniface, was then organising the church in the Frankish kingdoms. Boniface, the apostle to the Germans, recognised in his nephew a man of unique experience. Here was someone who had returned with profound wisdom and a first-hand knowledge of Christianity's holiest sites, precisely the leader needed on the challenging frontier of Bavaria. And so, in 741, at Boniface's behest, Willibald was consecrated. In the region of Eichstätt, he was appointed its first bishop, tasked with carving a diocese out of a land still rooted in its pagan past. The transition was profound. From a pilgrim wanderer whose life was defined by constant movement, Willibald became a spiritual anchor, a fixed point of authority for a burgeoning community. He was no longer just a traveller, he was a founder, ready to build a legacy that would last for centuries. When he spoke of Jerusalem or the shores of Galilee, he was not merely reciting scripture, he was bearing witness. For his flock in Germany, these distant mythical places became real and immediate as he transformed abstract faith into a vivid geographical reality. To build his new diocese, Willibald drew upon the same resilience that had seen him through storms and imprisonment. He established a monastery in Eichstätt, modelling it on the Benedictine principles he had learned at Monte Cassino. This monastery became a beacon of learning and spirituality. He also invited his sister, St. Walburga, to establish a nearby convent, creating a vital centre for the education and spiritual life of women. His life's journey demonstrated that the outer pilgrimage had forged the inner strength required for leadership, proving that travel is not just about miles covered, but about the profound transformation within. For over 45 years, Willibald guided the Diocese of Eichstätt, a long tenure that allowed him to deeply embed Christian culture into the region. He lived to be over 80, a patriarch whose life spanned nearly the entire 8th century. When he passed away around 787 CE, his importance only grew. He was venerated as a saint, and his final resting place, the magnificent Eichstätt Cathedral which he had founded, became a destination for pilgrims in its own right. His relics are still honoured there today, housed within an ornate shrine, a testament to the enduring power of his story. Yet perhaps his most unique legacy is a written one. Willibald dictated the story of his travels to a relative, a nun named Higenberg. The resulting text, is a treasure of medieval literature. It stands as the first travelogue to the Holy Land by an Englishman, and its sober, detailed descriptions provided an invaluable guide for later pilgrims and offer modern historians a rare window into the 8th century Levant. His written pilgrimage continues to inspire historians, travellers, and the faithful to this day. Through his actions and his words, Willibald became a crucial connecting thread in the fabric of history. He stands as one of the earliest great travellers of medieval Europe, a man who personally linked the worlds of Anglo-Saxon England, the Byzantine East, and the emerging Germanic heartland of Europe. Unlike conquerors who sought empires or merchants who chased wealth, Willibald's journey was different. His was a pilgrimage of spirit, faith, and unshakable curiosity. His story speaks to us across the ages, reminding us that travel can be both a physical voyage and a spiritual quest, that the road itself can be a form of devotion. In our modern world of rapid transit, his slow, deliberate journey is a powerful counter-narrative. And so, when we trace the line of the world's greatest travellers, St. Willibald shines as the bridge between the age of early pilgrims and the grand explorations yet to come. His life is an enduring testament that the greatest journeys are those taken not for power, but for meaning.